Hey folks, welcome back to Talk of the Town. I'm Justin Riley, sitting in for just a moment for Ellen Barrett because we are talking storytelling today with Karen Wendt, who is Youth Services Coordinator with the Monona Public Library. Karen, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear a little bit more about storytelling because this is kind of an art form that has really sort of lost its fervor, I think, over the years, but I think we're trying to bring it back, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, it started coming back in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's big.
So first of all, tell us, what is storytelling?
Well, there's a lot of different kinds of storytelling, and there's storytelling in the news, there's storytelling in music, there's storytelling in books, and then there's crafted storytelling where people talk from a stage to a big audience. But today we're talking about a different kind of storytelling.
Okay.
We're going to talk about family stories.
Okay.
And family stories are when the teller shares a tale from their life or their family's life, and it's not memorized, and it's told to an audience of one or maybe a gathering.
Sure.
And the listeners have a job too of being responsive and creating images.
Okay. So the memories are there, but the way that the sentences and the paragraphs are strung together verbally are not planned, is what you're saying.
For family story, it may or may not be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it could be a true story, or it could be something that you just kind of...
They are true stories.
They are true stories.
Family storytelling is always true stories.
Okay.
Yes.
And, there's a certain thing that people do where they collect family stories. I mean, you hear about people collecting folk songs, collecting nursery rhymes, and some people collect family stories. So talk to us a little bit about what are a few things to remember if people out there want to collect some of their own family stories.
The most important thing is to listen. Listen to the family members who are talking to you, your aunts and your uncles and grandma and grandpa, and if possible, take notes or even get permission to record their voices.
Sure.
That would be one best way. But also collect the family stories of your family and your children and pass those on so that your children have a family history.
Right. Absolutely.
Also, you can get books that help you with collecting family stories.
Wow, there's books written on collecting family stories. That is so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, Jerry App's telling your story is one of them.
I have a question, and I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball here, but what do people typically do once let's say they do record grandma or aunt or uncle telling a story? What do they typically do with that? Do they transcribe it later on and put it on paper, or do they just have that recording as part of as the collection itself? There's
such a wide variety of what people do. Okay. I have some friends who are storytellers, and they'll craft those memories from their ancestors into a story that they can tell on stage.
Okay.
Other people might just keep them digitally in their computer, or maybe tucked into a book of family pictures. Lots of variety.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And why do you think that telling stories in the family is so important?
Because they're true. Yeah. So those true stories are really important for family history. And no matter if Aunt Susie and Aunt Nancy tell a different version of the same story, they're still true family stories, right? And so we want to collect those and preserve those, and we want to be able to keep those for our children and grandchildren. But if we don't know our family history, for whatever reason, if we don't have that background, then we can start it ourselves so that our great-great-grandchildren will have a family history.
Start an oral tradition, in other words.
Yes, thank you.
What are some benefits for families who do share stories?
There's so many. One study that I read talked about how narrative skills, which we get from reading to children as well, are increased in children who hear family stories. They're able to tell richer, fuller stories 2-3 years later to adults that they don't know. But also self-esteem, confidence, problem-solving skills, coping skills, and one study showed that a lack of lower rates of anxiety and depression as well.
Wow, just from having storytelling in the family.
Yeah, from having a family heritage.
And real quick before we go, just have a few seconds left, but how can parents include storytelling in their daily routines?
Reading lots of books, but then when you're reading that book, create a dialogue with your child. And if you would say, hey, that happened to me when I was little, make sure that you stop and tell your story to your child. Also look for appropriate storytelling events in the area, or ask your librarian for a list of questions on how to keep family stories alive.
Karen Wendt from the Monona Public Library, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
If you want to learn more about storytelling, go to the website on your screen to find out more. And we'll be back with more Talk of the Town coming up right after the break. Stick around.